Yes.
Okay, it's on.
And Tina, you're gonna run the show, right?
I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, do it.
Um, so as you know, I submitted to you all a draft red line of the rules and regs. And I don't have a real formal plan for this meeting. This is for you guys to give feedback. So I have all the versions of the thing that we can look at. I don't know how you want to look at it. We can look at the clean draft that I sent you, and you can make edits on that. We can look at the original red line, which has like all the stuff we crossed out, and we can do it that way. However makes sense to folks.
So I don't know if anyone printed out a clean copy. What I did in preparation for this was I had the red line up on the screen and then I had the clean copy printed out. And that way, I could go through and find the change. I mean, I read the whole thing, not for the first time. And, but I could visualize what was marked up. So do people have people printed anything out?
I printed the red line because
Couldn't get my printer to work. It quit. So
Oh, boo.
online. But I have it in front of me. I've gone through it, but no printing.
Okay. So I'm probably going to open a document because I'm going to save like an edited version. Whatever we do today will be saved. So I think I'll go with the red line if I can navigate that, because that has the stuff that was deleted too. So it might be easier for us to look at. If that makes sense.
Times we want to toggle between that and the clean version because once you've looked at the strikeouts, then you just want to be able to read it.
Yes. I have the markup on. What is? Okay, this is the right version. Yes. So I have every version available. So if someone wants to see something else, just let me know and I'll put it up. Right now we are looking at the version with the crossouts. So I didn't receive any emails or comments in advance on this. So if someone wants to start with an issue that's particularly concerning to them, I'm happy to do that. If no one volunteers, I will just scroll through the whole thing.
I have an issue. If
okay, what would you like to?
Wants to.
What would you like to talk about first?
Mitigation.
Okay.
Which is, I have a red line, but everything is red.
Interesting.
Is that a different copy?
I think that the lines are different depending on who you are. This is a guess that I have. Like I am the person that created this, so mine are blue, but if I gave it to someone else, maybe it would then be red. Like
so is your section 5 all crossed out?
Yeah, because I crossed it out. Yes.
Okay. So it's the same.
Yeah, I just took it out and started over. So here's the demolition section. So let's go to mitigation. Okay. Here it is.
So
this is the cross out here. No, it's not actually. Where'd it go? This is it. It ended up at the end.
Right, but yeah, right. So, I mean, I wonder if we could just cross out the whole section because it seems like it's discussed in the bylaw. And I think what we're putting into this section is not helpful to the Preservation Commission. That is, if you go to the beginning of it, I think the word mitigation is being used to stand for design review, which when you look at the language in the bylaw, I think it has a different sense. So I think putting mitigation with lifting the stay of demolition is not entirely correct. So I'm looking for the definition in the bylaw.
Of mitigation?
David,
Yeah.
in what way in the bylaws does it have a different sense?
Well, in the bylaw, hold on a sec. Demolition. In the bylaw, it says actions taken to partially compensate for the demolition of a significant building, including without limitation, removal of the building to a new location, offering the building for removal to a new location, monetary support for the same, incorporation of part or all of the building into a new building. These are very different to me than design review, for example.
But David, the next item on that list is submitting any replacement building to design review.
Right, but that's a replacement building.
Are
I mean,
we-
a
are we
replacement
re-
building, yes, but lifting a stay of demolition normally is applying to lifting a partial stay. And so I think this is a very different situation. Yes, it is mitigation if they're building a completely different replacement building. But design review in general is just what we do, and it's not mitigation to my mind. The other things, moving the building to a new location, that's covered in this bylaw description. Photographic documentation, I mean, that's also covered in the bylaw. And I mean, I think, like our archives we don't have space for anything. We're totally struggling with archives. This is like taking some photos. So I mean, I guess this is good preservation practice. So, but anyway, I think it's covered in the bylaw. The next phrase, applicants may want to, the issue about affordable housing. I think that's sort of confusing our mission with saying, perhaps you can destroy this building if you're going to make a replacement structure that enables an increase in housing units with 15% or more affordable housing. We deal mostly with private houses. So, I mean, you can't take 15% of a private house and make it into affordable housing. This is like, I don't think it's essential. I don't think it's something that I think we should only have things that are really essential in our rules and regs.
David, can I ask you a question? Is that because it leaves us to it diminishes our ability to interpret the bylaw on an as needed basis? Is that what you're getting at?
I think the direction should be general, and it should not, and we should not overpopulate our rules and regulations, because lawyers will be trolling through this and looking for ways into a project. And I think that's one possible way. I think donation of another historic resource or historic project that benefits the town of Brookline, I think is a bad idea. And I think we kind of explored this in the a situation where somebody wanted to destroy a house and they were going to donate money for windows in the Widow Clark house, and the neighbors and people around there just went ballistic, and frankly, I don't think it was something that we want to do or suggest in our rules and regs. And I just think there's nothing here that adds in a good way to what's already in the bylaw. So I think I would be in favor of just deleting the whole thing.
I think that's what you're referring to. I remember there was quite an argument from the lawyers on the other side because we had mentioned it, right? And so what you're saying is that if it's, we can always do it because it gives it, we have the ability to do it, but we shouldn't necessarily offer it on the plate to them so obviously.
Yeah, well, in the bylaw, it says,
Yeah. I was just reading it again.
I think the bylaw is, my interpretation of the bylaw is that if a building had to be destroyed, which we did have a building which was a garage in the, I don't remember where it was, but near Dummer Street, that was structurally unsound, and it was going to have to come down. And maybe if they had said, we don't want a garage there anymore, we're going to, maybe the town would accept something in kind for their taking down the garage. Although even in that case, I don't know that it makes sense. I don't know that it makes sense at all to have that in the rules and regs. I mean, maybe it was just not a good idea to begin with.
Dave, if I understand what you're saying, David, you're saying that because mitigation is spelled out in the bylaw, we don't need to do it again in the rules and regs.
Yes, and we don't need to elaborate it on the way in the way that is suggested here.
I think it's interesting because I'm struggling with the elaboration because I think the elaboration crosses the boundary between what is actually mitigation in the sense of compensation for something which is negative and something which we may actually view to be positive, which is an interesting question. I mean, profound question. And I think it's a question we often struggle with, or sometimes struggle with, but it is never acknowledged openly yet. I mean, this would be the first time that we're openly acknowledging that there are some cases in which we actually prefer demolition to preservation. And that's a valid thing to say, I think. I mean, but that is another big discussion. I mean, but the one of the points that you're specifically objecting to, I think I myself crossed it out because I think it wades into it. If, for example, proposed replacement structure enables an increase in housing units with affordable housing. I mean, that may be an entirely valid reason, I think, this is me, for taking down a building, or may not be, depending. There are lots of ways you'd want to kind of quantify that. But that is opening up a whole new chapter. It would, and it's not mitigation anymore because mitigation specifically is about compensation for something which is otherwise negative, which is negative. I think I'm inclined to agree with you because unless we're ready to introduce a new question here, which is under what circumstances we approve of demolition, And that would be hard, but possible, I suppose. I don't know if it would fit our bylaw at all. But unless we're ready to do that, I think we should stay clear of it.
There's another point in this which says, you know, we might accept mitigation in exchange for, or our mitigation will be full or partial. The client's mitigation will be full or partial deconstruction of the building, making the materials available for reuse on site or donating them for use off-site. I mean, that, I feel the same way about that. That's like wading into a completely different issue that that may have a place, but not here. Not when there, especially when there's not the infrastructure to do this now. We shouldn't just be like throwing this out as a possibility. I don't know.
So,
I think the whole I don't think we need this whole paragraph, and I think it opens up to some interesting challenges.
So, I'd like to say a few things. So first of all, you know, in the rewritten rules and regs, there's an LHD section and there's a demo section. And I think what we tried to do was have the procedure for meetings and everything spelled out for LHD and then again for demo. Setting aside for the moment the question of mitigation, if you just titled this lifting of stay of demolition, I mean, if we don't have, I think, you know, one of the things, the guiding principles, I think, was to try to take some of the materials that are, you know, this is found in the bylaws and this is found in the rules and regs and this is found in 40C. And I think, you know, Tina and the rest of us were trying to put different put these different bits of law together in one place, so it would be more comprehensive, both for the commission, but also for the citizens, for the public. So if you, you know, I like having a section that says lifting of the stay of demolition, because then you're spelling out, you know, that's one of the things people come to us all the time. And I think it's just logical and sort of clean to, you know, we have the initial hearing about significance, and then we have a section about lifting the stay of demolition. So I would not be in favor of getting rid of this section altogether. I do think that if people want to, you know, work on the language, I mean, that's what we're here for. As a, you know, as a commission and as a working group. It's interesting to me, you know, I remember how much we struggled with that case where, you know, the attorneys came forward with an offer to make a donation and how much we struggled with that. And I'm looking at the bylaw, and other than monetary support for the same, which is removing the building to a new location, I don't see anything about money in the bylaw. About wait a second, Ellen, about contributing to a completely different project, kind of like when you take down a big tree, you pay into the tree fund. So I would say that if it's not in the bylaw, then we don't have to do it. And if it only lived in our rules and regs before, and we want to, based on our experience with cases, if we want to say, you know, we don't need to have that as an option, this would be the ideal time to, you know, think about that and take it out. I do think, you know, we should think about whether, you know, whether that could ever be a useful mitigation tool. But certainly this would be an opportunity to take it out, since it's not in the bylaw. Because, you know, everything in 40C and everything in the bylaw, we're bound by, excuse me. And then our rules and regs are, they're the icing on the cake, where we put a layer of finesse on these things, but we can't countermand them. But we can elaborate on them. But once we do, we're bound by them. With a regulation, an agency, a commission that promulgates regulations are bound by them with the force of law, which means you can get sued over them. Okay.
I think that's part of why David's saying, and I agree, I think we're agreeing that that's a good reason to make sure that we leave ourselves as wide a berth as possible. So I would absolutely, I mean, whether we remove the whole thing but for sure, I did not like having somebody coming and saying, well, it says you should be able to do this. And they kind of put us to the wall with, that has to be an option. And it shouldn't have to, I mean, just because it's there, it shouldn't have to be, but I agree. I think if it's not there, then they don't get to twist it around on us.
You know, as far as the affordable housing, which is in section B, I think that was based on a case where we sort of did some somersaults and backbends in order to reach a result. That where an important project was very far down the road, and in order to and it involved in affordable housing, and in order not to derail it or interfere with it, we found a building that many would argue was significant. We found it not to be significant, so as to let the project go forward without any further delay. So I think Tina, that's kind of what that is speaking to, correct?
Yes, that is correct. That was the BHA property on High Street. And the commission, if you'll recall, found it not significant, like you're saying, and then asked staff to make sure that the project team put a historic sign in front of this assumedly not historic building that we just found not significant, to explain the historic significance of the site. And being staff who had to argue for this, I found myself in quite a pickle. First of all, I had no legal justification to ask them for anything. And second of all, it just sounded really stupid. So I wrote this section really in response to that case, but in response to a lot of cases over the years where we have made decisions that did not make logical sense because we wanted to get to an outcome that we thought we could not get to any other way. People said that if we put a stay on the High Street property, that meant that it would slow down the project, that it would inhibit this affordable housing from taking place. And given our usual process, that's probably true. We would have said, well, you have to come back next month. The thing is, nothing in the bylaw requires that. It does not require that. The bylaw requires that there be a second hearing if there's any kind of design review considered as a part of the mitigation package. All lifts of stay imply the inclusion of mitigation, whether that's design review or a sign or whatever. It says that right in the bylaw. So the commission does not need to specify mitigation in order to lift a stay. You can just lift it, but the vote needs to be about whether or not the existing building has any capacity to be preserved, rehabilitated, etc. So that's why I wrote this section, because we never take that vote. We never have that like significant but not preferably preserved conversation. We are forced to have it without the structure of making it logical. So we end up with illogical decisions.
I think that's true. Yes. I mean, I think I wrote, I was wondering whether one could have some very simple bullet point that said the commission may agree to lift the stay based on social or economic value to the town. Something so general as to give us wide latitude, but provide some structure behind what we're doing. Because this is in fact what we're doing. I mean, you can think of many instances in which a significant building may be taken down. What the instance you're citing is very clear. Another instance, suppose the choice was either to expand a school by a certain amount to allow another section, or tear it down and rebuild it entirely. Just um, it's so I think rather than trying to spell out any instances, if we just have some kind of generic statement that we can consider.
Well, I think Tim's language is very broad. Use issues may be considered. That's even broader than social or economic.
Where's that? I'm not sticking by any phrasing.
It's in the last sentence of that section B. The last sentence starts with use issues may be considered in some cases.
Yes, and
Go
sorry,
ahead,
Elizabeth,
Tim.
I just edited the last part of that sentence to say, based on social or economic value to the town, or values of the town. I don't know. I like that because it reflects the commission's other duty, generally speaking, to uphold the best interests of the town of Brookline. So like it was in the best interest of the town of Brookline for the BHA property to move forward immediately. That was very clear. And that's why we made the decisions that we made, right?
Right.
So that's what
Right.
it refers to.
Is social or economic, is that broad enough? I'm just kind of racking my brains to think if that covers any use issue that might arise. Like what about environmental?
That's
Ah,
social. I would consider that social
is
and
it?
economic, probably. I don't know. It's pretty broad.
Yeah,
I think environmental like kind of supersedes all of us, right? Like, I mean, the environment doesn't care whether there is a social or economic structure.
Well, I mean, it's in the interest of our society that we survive.
Yes.
some people think so.
Yeah, actually, I think the Bears would do better without us.
Mm.
Um, ah,
I read that, Tina.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that, Elizabeth. You broke up.
I said I like that edit.
You like it, or is that
I
what you're
like
saying?
it. I like it.
Okay, good. Yes.
But I'd like to hear other commissioners talk about the issue of completely deleting this section versus having a section that that deals with lifting of stay. And maybe mitigation doesn't need to be in the title
yes.
if that bothers people.
Yeah, if we just said, in other words, if we just said lifting of stay of demolition, and then we're citing things which are defined as mitigation in the bylaw, right?
But
It,
I think it's a good idea to have a lifting of the stay of demolition, but I would I don't know about the word mitigation, because in the bylaw it seems to be mitigation is design review if a building is entirely destroyed. But the design review that we do all the time on most of our cases is partial demolition. And somehow that doesn't seem like mitigation to me. Mitigation in the bylaw is compensation. And it seems like to me this is a very different issue. So I agree with the idea that there should be, have a lifting of stay section. But I would be very careful about using the term mitigation. I would also say, you know, in the like first 10 years that I was on the commission or more, no one ever cited the rules and regs. No one ever brought them up, lawyers or anybody. They were just something that Dennis had written, I guess, when the Preservation Commission was a little bit after it was formed, and they were kind of invisible. And I think the more that we put onto them, the more attention they may attract. So that's why I think it's better if they're more general.
David, this is Dave. The part that I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around is your concern about having more language kind of detailing the process of mitigation and lawyers using that as an opportunity to kind of find a way of exploiting that language for their particular goals. And I'm just trying to figure out why including this proposed language is what ramifications it might have. I don't know the answer to my question yet. But one thing that I can say with certainty, and that is, I know that you've been a commissioner for an awfully long time now, and I completely believe you when you say that rules and regs were almost never referred to in the course of the debate. But one thing that I have learned in the last several years is that more and more properties are not, the applicants for more and more properties are not individual homeowners, but they're companies, and they will also have a team of lawyers as part of their team, and it's dealing with lawyers has become more and more of the integral process in reaching the decision. And I'm just trying to put these facts together in my mind to determine the best way to proceed.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think maybe the climate has just changed and we live in a more
litigious environment.
And also a lot of these houses are just not bought by families.
The things in the rules and regs, we're held accountable for them, but they can also support us. So in the lawsuit regarding the house in Cottage Farm that had all the windows that went to trial, you know, for instance, there's a section in the rules and regs that says one case will not be a precedent for another case. And that was a really good supporting regulation to have in place, because the plaintiff was arguing, well, you did something different across the street. Excuse me. So yeah, so I mean, we're held accountable to them, but they also can support our practice. And I guess I'm a little more inclined to think of this project as providing more transparency in government, rather than sort of nothing to see here, folks.
This may be, well, I think one thing I think we could change here is to remove the phrase in the first bullet point, restoration of the existing building. Because as David said, most of the cases are partial demolitions. And it would be a lot to expect every homeowner to be restoring the rest of the building when they're doing an addition or a small change.
But does number two cover that or not? I mean, restoration isn't mandatory. You can also do design review of a proposal for adaptive reuse of the building. Et cetera, the language
Well,
that's following.
I don't think
Um,
I don't remember seeing a project for adaptive reuse. I mean, except for the teen center, adaptive reuse is, taking a building and using it for something completely different. Or the mental health center in Gloucester. I mean, I think that's like, the zebra that crosses your path once every 10 years or something. I'm not sure.
David, doesn't it include like changing a single to a double or a double to a triple? Which we have seen quite a bit of. Isn't that, I'm really asking this question, isn't that an
Do we
instance
see
of?
that a lot?
Yeah, a fair amount. Yeah, like that house over which we battled so much in Graff and McKay.
Would
I
it
always forget the,
apply to somebody wanting to put in in-law suite and stuff like that, which didn't used to ever really happen
yeah.
because that was like a completely verboten?
Is that really adaptive reuse though? When
I
it
don't
goes
know,
from,
that's why I'm asking.
it's going housing to housing. I mean, it's not really.
Yeah, okay, it's housing to housing, yeah.
So do we need broader language in here for just the run-of-the-mill case where somebody has submitted for partial demo? We found the building significant and then they come back with plans just to improve their single-family home.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So do we need a bullet point that if this section is about lifting the stay of demo, do we need a bullet point that just states that one scenario is lifting the stay and it would be a stay for partial demo, where someone comes back with plans to add on, improve their single family home or duplex or whatever, without changing the nature of it? Do we need,
Yes, we need that.
okay, how do we do that?
So it
I-
sounds like if you just take this, the restoration of the existing building, this is confusing people.
Yeah.
It has been part of projects, like I can think of a case where someone restored a porch that had formerly been open, but it had been enclosed, it might even be the Grafham case. I don't know. I think it was in an LHD. They were entitled to keep it not as an open air porch, but they restored it as part of their package. But I don't think it's necessary to state it. Obviously, we like that. I think it's a given, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
and it comes under alterations to the building, really.
so this is stated more simply now, design review of proposed additions or alterations to the building.
Yeah, and I think given that, I think you're right. Given that, we don't really need bullet 2 at all, perhaps. I mean, because
Just to keep it simpler and less things
Yeah.
to read.
yeah.
God knows we need to make, like, if we could make it shorter, that would be ideal. But yes.
Well, we don't want to encourage people to read them.
You don't, I'm just asking, not an architect or designer. You don't think that stating out loud the adaptive reuse adds something here?
What Well, it does. I mean, it may, it probably does, often it does, but what we want is design review, I think. And so we'd rather have design review than people wait out the stay. I mean, I think that's really a basic position. And whether it's for adaptive reuse or changing windows for a kitchen or adding something for an in-law suite in the back, I mean, whatever it is, we want design review. I I have a I have a hard time thinking of that for just somewhat by the by, but this goes back to the question of mitigation, the definition of mitigation. I don't really like the word. I mean, because mitigation is about alleviating a negative thing. It may not at all be a negative thing to make a single into a double or to add an in-law apartment. I don't, and in that case, I don't see our design review as a mitigation.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
agree with
some,
that.
It 100% is mitigation. It is definitely
It-
mitigation.
it is.
Our bylaw does not distinguish between partial and full demolition at all. Demolition is demolition, period. And actually, I would kind of lean towards eliminating partial demolition. And that is not part of the conversation here. That is not included in the alterations to the regs. Just as a disclaimer, I did not go into that issue. But I think it is a valid point that we have no definition of partial demolition at all. We cannot enforce the difference between partial and full demolition. We've had cases that have tested this recently, and we were just left with question marks at the staff level. It is something that we should probably deal with in the future.
I don't
Uh,
agree that mitigation applies to, at least as is shown in the bylaw, that it applies to partial demolition. It says mitigation actions taken to partially compensate for the demolition of a significant building, including without limitation, removal of the building to a new location, offering the building for removal to a new location, monetary support for same, incorporating a part or all of building into a new building, submitting any replacement building to design review by the commission, and recordation of visual documentation of the existing building. I don't think that, at least with respect to that language in the bylaw, I don't think that applies to partial demolition. Doesn't seem to me like that applies to partial demolition.
That language was written, obviously, with the intention of applying it to full demolition. But if you read section 5311 of the bylaw, where it talks about the lift of stay process and how the building commissioner can be empowered to do that. So the commission has to inform them that it is satisfied that there is no reasonable likelihood that the building can be preserved, restored, rehabilitated, or moved. That language we never ever use. We use the second part, the issuance of said permit being subject to such stipulations, if any, that the commission and the applicant may have agreed upon as mitigation for said demolition. And I think the facts of the matter is whatever the partial demolition is, it is defined as demolition in the bylaw as just demolition, period. It is demolition. If you're altering the roof and taking, messing with the margins of the building, that is demolition. And if there is a stipulation, such as a design review agreement, that the commission agrees to in order to lift the stay, then it is, in my mind, by definition, mitigation.
Well, I'm looking at 5.3.11. So it says, notwithstanding the provisions of section 5.3.9, the building commissioner may issue a demolition permit for a significant building at any time after receipt of written advice from the commission to the effect the commission is satisfied there is no reasonable likelihood that the building can be preserved. I mean, all of this is applying to a whole building. It seems restored, rehabilitated, or moved, the issuance of said permit being subject to such stipulations if any, as the commission and the applicant may have agreed upon a mitigation for the said demolition. I mean, maybe our bylaw just doesn't deal with partial demolition, but
It doesn't. All of the partial demolition is defined as demolition.
well, no, I don't think it is defined. I think, I think we're making a huge assumption there. If we say the partial demolition is, I mean, these phrases obviously apply to full demolition.
Well, in the definitions of the bylaw, H, it does refer both to full demolition and partial. It says, or raising of a building or a significant portion thereof by substantially. It defines partial demolition pretty carefully in H, actually.
Yes.
And
then we adopted the diagrams to further.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think the bylaw doesn't go to the trouble to differentiate mitigation. But the implication generally is that it's about full demolition, not partial demolition. Because all the instances seem to be about full demolition. I can't hear you.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Elizabeth.
How about now?
Yeah, better.
Good, yeah.
Turn my volume up. I'm wondering if architects put a different sort of connotation on demolition that's not obvious to me as a non-architect. Because as a non-architect, I read all these materials and also just like reflecting on my experience on the commission. I think that whenever the commission agrees to let an applicant alter their building, their significant, once it's been found, alter their significant building, then anything done in furtherance of allowing that alteration is mitigation. Design review, pictures, whatever, it's all done like that. If you think of it as, I don't know, like mitigation lessens a harm, then if the harm is altering the significant building, anything that we approve as a condition for letting them going ahead and altering the building, to me, it's just mitigation. But I understand and respect that you, David, and I don't know how the others feel, but that you read it more narrowly.
I can't hear anyone anymore. Maybe it's
Elizabeth,
me.
that was hard to understand.
It was very hard to understand. Yeah.
I think we should drop this at this point. I mean, I think I think
Yeah.
mitigation is clearly being used to mean more in a slightly different way than Webster's would use it, but that's fine. I mean, we want to do design review, and if people are going to call that mitigation, okay, the
I mean,
bylaw does.
Mitigation is defined in our bylaw. Actions taken to partially compensate for the demolition of a significant building, including without limitation, removal of the building, offering the building or removal to a new location, monetary support for the same, incorporation of part of all the building into a new building, submitting any replacement building to design review for the commission.
Well, that's it. You see, design
And
review.
recordation of visual documentation. Well,
I mean, they're defining design review as
incorporation of,
they're defining design review
no,
as
incorporation
mitigation.
of part or all of the building into a new building, submitting any replacement building to design review.
But in the first part of that, the word demolition automatically means full and partial demolition, like we discussed earlier. It automatically includes that. And the rest of it is stated without limitation. I don't see the limiting factor in
I
that.
think David's right, though, that we can't change this, right? This is the bylaw right now. But I think he's right that it's specifically saying design review for replacement building. It doesn't get into design review in general for partial demolition.
That's why you have your rules and regs to clarify.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we're fine. I mean, basically, I think we're all agreeing, really. We want the design review, whether it's full or partial.
Yeah.
Striking out mitigation in the title, I can't tell.
I mean, I will if people want me to, because in the bylaw, lifting the stay of demolition, mitigation is defined as part of that process. It is something you can do when you lift the stay. You don't have to, but you can. If people feel more comfortable with removing mitigation from the title, I think that's fine.
What if we just switched it relative to the semicolon?
You want it on the other side.
Yeah.
I can do that. How about this? Oh no, now the semicolon's on the wrong side. But it actually does make more sense that way. It is part of, it goes in that process. It is
Yes.
not the cause of the process.
Right.
The process is there regardless.
The overall is lifting stay.
Yeah. And I just want to support what Elizabeth said about like letting people know what we intend by our bylaw. The public is completely oblivious as to what it means to lift a stay of demolition. They don't understand what those words mean at a very basic level. They don't understand the word mitigation either. We ourselves have a really hard time with it. What does it mean? Clearly, we're discussing it at length. And I just feel like making these things transparent to the public, well, at least it's just part of how I see my job. So that's why I've done it.
So this is going to sound silly, but I mean, maybe part of, because when we go to our website, and this, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but when we go to our website and you look for, like, getting to the part of the bylaw is harder. I mean, it almost seems like the rules and regulations, if we put a hyperlink in there to some of these things, where there are definitions, might also just address a lot of those things. Can we do something like that in a very practical sense? Because what we're doing is we're kind of reinterpreting and which is fine to a degree, but then as David King was saying, you know, then perhaps it could limit us. Whereas, I mean, I just went to the website and it really is not easy to get to the section that defines these things. And I think
That's true.
maybe that's our better answer, instead of trying to regurgitate it in another form, because they still aren't going to understand all of these things. I think we really ought to consider putting up a hyperlink to, you know, section, what is exactly it? I mean, where the definitions, section 5.3.2, which is where all the definitions are, right? And the whole demolition delay bylaw, Article 5.3, with another one that goes directly to the definitions, which then gives us the latitude to reinterpret them as things change, as whether it's because you've got more corporations doing these things or the environmental changes. I think we need the flexibility, and I'm not speaking in you know, exacting terms here, but I think that's what we're really getting at, is that the definitions over time will change and people's understanding of them changes, but the bylaw doesn't change, and it's right there.
Yeah, there are problems, I will say, with the bylaw and linking to it. The town like holds the bylaw in a certain place in its website. And the IT provided link to the demolition bylaw goes to the general bylaw, like the whole
Yes,
thing.
I know, that's why I was just going through it again. Can
It's
we then
so bad.
Can we do an excerpt of it and
So-
literally say that these are, according to the bylaws from, and we insert section 5.3 point whatever 2, that so that we're not rewriting it, we are reasserting and quoting it.
So we can put whatever we want on our webpage. And if there's important information that isn't there, we certainly can make it more clear. I've included a direct link to the bylaw on that webpage, but you have to scroll down and you have to see like the hyperlink text and click that one, not the big button at the top that says demolition bylaw, because that won't take you there. And I told this to IT, they will not budge on
No,
this one.
in our rules and regs.
In
our
the
rules and regs, if we put either just literally quote put the definitions that are, from bylaw, put the definition, put the actual, bylaw there that is, that's driving everything, and then it gives us, the latitude to still reinterpret without being hemmed in.
I can do, I don't think I can hyperlink between documents, at
Doesn't
least not at
we-
this stage, but I can do footnotes. Like I could do like everywhere that there is something that refers to the bylaw. I can do footnotes that cite the section of the bylaw. And that
Well,
might be more helpful.
Maybe, but what I'm saying is that when like this section here, section 5.3.10, alternatives to demolition and mitigation, right? I mean, that paragraph there, right? If the commission makes a final determination that the building is significant, the commission chair and staff shall invite the owner of record of the building. That basically is saying everything that we just wrote, just more succinctly. So we could literally put, right under there, just not a link, but copy and paste, section 5.3.10.
Like an appendix to the rules and
But it
regs.
doesn't even have to be an appendix. I'm saying it can be, the bylaw can be part of our rules and regs. Like that section of the bylaw could be just pasted in
Yeah.
for section 5.
I feel like that at that point, you should just take it out if that's how you feel. Because it's
except
not like
saying-
more information. The importance.
We can add to it after that, but if we start there, okay? Is what I'm saying. If we start there as opposed to reinterpreting it, which I think is confusing people because then they're holding up the bylaws, they're holding up the rules and regs, and we're trying to, figure out whether or not they all fit together.
I just want to add, this may be a little bit more of like an internal staff note when it comes to links, but something to keep in mind when it comes to links is that the town is working on making all of our digital stuff more accessible, like ADU accessibility type things. And for people who have to use like, I forget what they're called, but digital readers for them, and links, hyperlinks are very tricky with those machines. And so I know for rules and regs, we're trying to be as intentional as possible about our language, but also just know that we need to keep in mind, if we use hyperlinks, we have to keep in mind doing it correctly in terms of the town's accessibilities and whatnot. And there's a potential if we don't do it the right way, the town will make us rewrite it. So
think
actually,
Arista's just-
I kind of agree a little bit more with Tina that maybe footnotes would be a better way to go about it, just because of those. And honestly, the town is still somewhat hammering out exactly what they want their accessibility procedures to be. But we've been doing trainings and stuff on that, and I know the hyperlinks are a big thing with IT when it comes to accessibility and those e-readers.
I thought Arista was just saying incorporate exactly the text there,
In
not a
line.
hyperlink. Put that at
And-
the beginning and say,
Yeah.
and then expand on that if you have to.
That's
I
what I'm
think-
saying.
I think that makes sense.
I except if you, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea, but if you read it, it obliges us to do some things I'm not sure we do. Like shall invite the owner of record of the building commissioner, and the planning director to participate. Do we ever do that?
No, we do not do that. And
Yeah.
that is that is the reason that the demolition bylaw requires us to obtain the owner's phone number and their email address, is so that we can have this meeting. But in my time with the town, this has never been done. It is generally, I think, considered inappropriate. And I don't know whether that's the right view of it, but at least I certainly felt uncomfortable like initiating that when Bobby Allen's office is sending us applications that have on the front of, so the demolition application where the owner's name, address, and phone number are listed. Above that, Bobby Allen's office puts in big red type, do not contact the owner under any circumstances. So like I agree. I don't want to draw attention to the fact that we are supposed to be doing that, because we are not doing that. As a policy, we don't do that at the staff level. If the commission wants something different, direct us. But as self-initiative, like we're not going to change that.
If we ever get to the rest of this rules and regs, there are several instances, I think, where we don't do exactly what we're saying we're going to have to do.
In the
So,
bylaw, you mean the bylaw's
I
wrong,
think
or
I can't remember now. I think it's in the rules and regs themselves. Relationships.
yes, there are several
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Basically, relations between staff, the preservation planners, and the commission. And often the commission, in the rules and regs, the commission is obliged to do things which you planners are doing now. I believe, but we haven't got there yet.
We should talk about that at the given section. Yes. So I guess to move us forward, I would ask the commission to consider and respond to the structure of how I've set this up. This section puts design review and like negotiations around that as the suggested mitigation strategy, basically. It's saying if the applicant wants to lift the stay, design review is the way to do it. I guess you could move the building to a new location, fine. Documentation of either of those two things is acceptable. If you're proposing something else, any other type of mitigation requires you to meet the bar of, is there any reasonable likelihood that the building can be preserved, restored, rehabilitated, or moved? In other words, like the applicant isn't in charge of whether they get to choose one of these other mitigation strategies. The commission needs to choose that by basically accepting their evidence that this building cannot be saved. That is a structural difference from what we do now, although it is like a literal interpretation of the bylaw. So I would love to hear thoughts on that.
I'm sorry, but could you say that again? I was.
So there are two lists here. You have your mitigation list at the top. This is the recommended solution for mitigation, right? Our normal design review process. For full or partial demolition, that's what we want from people, right? Well, actually, no, this is the partial demolition process. I didn't speak right. Additions or alterations to the building. That is not design review of a replacement structure. That is design review of proposed additions or alterations. So in this scheme, between these two lists of mitigation strategies, I would say one is preferred and the other one is the less desirable end of the spectrum. If you want to engage in these, if you want to offer these other mitigations, such as design review for an entirely new replacement structure, you would need a vote of the commission that the building actually can't be preserved, that you have met that bar. It doesn't define what that bar is specifically. It just says that the applicant needs to demonstrate that reuse has been considered and give the reasons why they could not reuse the building as a procedural step between, being able to just come right in with that offer to document and fully demolish the building.
I think this puts us in a bad position because that language that I can't find it, what you were saying, that there's no reasonable likelihood the building can be preserved, restored, rehabilitated, or moved. I mean, it's basically setting us up to vote on a falsehood, I think, which may actually be the bylaw.
It is stated in
Um,
those exact words in section 5311.
But so I think it's kind of a catch-22 because it's setting us up to take a vote on something that just isn't true, because in 99% of these cases, the building could be preserved or restored, or so I don't know. I don't know exactly how to handle that. But if we have to, do we take that vote every time now? When we,
You imply that vote every time you engage in a mitigation package and a lift of stay, because section 5311 says that we have to give this advice to the building commissioner. Like, that's the advice we have to give. There's no reasonable likelihood. I don't know if maybe one of the other planners could look at the language on our certificates to see, for our lift of stay, to see what the language is on the letters to the building commissioner. I just haven't, I don't recall what they say, whether they say the commission has reached this determination. We certainly have never voted that in my term with the commission. I think if I had an option, I would rewrite that part, that aspect of the bylaw. I think it's a little cumbersome, but.
This is for full demo, right, Tina?
Well, see, that is exactly the problem, Elizabeth, because the bylaw was written from the perspective of full demo. And I don't know whether it was done later or done when the bylaw was written, but partial demolition got incorporated more and more into the definition of demolition, to the effect that later sentences in the bylaw don't really make a lot of sense when you read them knowing that partial demolition is also demolition.
And I pulled up the lift letter, and it just says the commission voted to lift the stay based on the submitted plans.
Okay.
That is the action sentence.
I
let's
think
let's not change that.
I think then that this section on lifting the stay in the regs is actually really necessary, because the bylaw does not say lift the stay. It doesn't say that. So when we issue determinations and, things that make reference to a process that is not mentioned in our bylaw, that's a little hard if it's not defined in the regs.
You can force this to work, I think, for partial demolition, but it's strange language. I mean, if you added a phrase or two, maybe it would help, but I'm not sure. might further confuse. Like, for example, after can be preserved, I suppose you could say preserved in its present form.
Yeah, I think that's the clarification that would make it make sense.
Yeah, maybe we should do
Not today.
Shortly.
that. Oh,
Tina, not today.
What's that?
Sorry, they're taking down a big tree, so I have to use these. Sorry, outside my apartment. What do you mean by not today?
We will not rewrite the demolition bylaw today.
Oh, the bylaw, okay.
I'm drawing
Okay.
a hard line on that one. No.
With writers and regs that interpret a bylaw that doesn't really reflect our practice.
I think you said we're just trying to get our regs to reflect our practice. Is that? Sorry.
No, I said, try again. Mostly with rewriting a reg.
Elizabeth, maybe if you turned off your video, your audio would be stronger.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or Tina, you can turn it off if she doesn't know how. Yeah.
I got it.
There.
Is that better? No.
No.
no. In fact, lip reading helps here.
I
Could Elizabeth
Technology.
call in?
Fine.
Yeah, you could call on your phone and just do an audio call, Elizabeth. Tina,
Okay.
did you send her the phone number to call on the phone?
yeah.
There should be under the participants patent invite thing, and you can just send it, then you can copy and paste the phone number.
Rebecca, would you be able to look at that? Thank you. That way we can still maybe function here.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Tina, could you scroll down a tiny bit so we can see the bullet points? No, the other way. I mean, scroll up, I guess. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha. Okay. Where are we at?
Well, we were discussing the process, which would require this vote before mitigation packages could be considered that involve fully demolishing the building. Essentially, what I'm asking you is, would you want a process to consider applications that are wanting a lift but cannot preserve the building? We've been forced into this uncomfortable situation in the past, and we have accepted such packages in the past. This just gives a defined process that we would use in order to get there. Namely, this decision that there's no reasonable likelihood, emphasis on the reasonable, that the building can be preserved. So in the case of Well Tower, right, we accepted salvage and we accepted photographic documentation of those buildings because the town passed the zoning warrant article allowing the project before they ever even applied for demolition. So there was a 0% chance that that project wasn't going forward. We were just included too late. So we had to accept it. And rather than accept nothing, we accepted this undesirable mitigation package, which didn't actually save any buildings.
Yeah. So the reasonable likelihood includes all political machinations, powers, et
Oh,
cetera, et
yeah.
cetera.
Yes. Yes. Us having our arm twisted.
Yeah. Well, I think we do have to vote, don't we? I mean, that is what we do.
Well, right now you just vote on the package. You don't vote on whether they're allowed to submit the package, like whether they're allowed to go to the stage where they submit these things. Because sometimes, go ahead.
This sentence, though, just refers to accepting the evidence that they're presenting that we cannot save the existing building.
Yeah, it's asking them to present evidence.
Right. And we always do vote on whether or not to accept that, whether we like it or not, right? I mean, that is our obligation, isn't it? Isn't this just spelling out that that is our obligation? We vote. We can vote no, or we
No,
can vote
I
yes.
don't think, like, in the situation where suppose a developer is tearing down a house and uh, they say after 6 months, well, we're really tearing it down and we're going to put this up, and we say, oh well, okay, maybe we can live with that. And I mean, they come back to us with plans of their revised scheme, and then we would accept as evidence that there's no likelihood the building could be restored. That's not really what we would be doing.
No, we vote. We often vote no. We don't
Yeah, but it
accept
says
it.
vote to accept evidence, considering whether there's any likelihood the building can be restored. I mean,
No, it doesn't, wait, maybe am I?
It's
the
in-
building
Well,
could be
Well,
restored.
it says, David, it says vote whether to accept this evidence.
Right, but I think what kind of the nuance that this is missing is there are buildings of different architectural value that even in the range of buildings that we put a demolition stay on. And if we came to an arrangement with, and we said, all right, well, this building is not, this building, is worthy of a demolition stay, but we can work with the owner. The owner can work with us for one reason or another to lift that stay. Then, if we actually take this vote that says there's no reasonable likelihood the building can be preserved or restored, then, I mean, it seems like we are inviting criticism for that decision for people who wanted to hold on to that building. I mean, a good example might be the building on Clark Street or wherever, which was the
That brick single family Georgian revival building that sat perpendicular to the street.
No, this is the one that was testing the new warrant article that.
Oh, yeah, that's the one over by the, yeah, I sorry, I know the one.
So we lifted the stay, we would have to say there's no reasonable likelihood the building can be preserved or restored. We'd have to vote that.
Yeah.
You are
Well, we
already saying it.
we
You are
do-
implying it every single time because that's what the bylaw says. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to tell you.
You're like the Greek chorus in a,
But-
in a Greek tragedy.
But it is the reality that we often say, oh, well, this building will not be saved. And so if we vote to lift the stay, it's based on our participation, generally speaking, in whatever happens subsequently. Sometimes we say no, because we don't remember the one on Lee Street, they were happy to work with us on the design of their new replacement building, and we said we'd prefer not to. Like Bartleby the Scrivener, we'd prefer not to. So we voted
Yeah.
no.
It's true. It just gives more definition to the process. It makes you come out and say it. Yes, it does. But you're saying it anyway. That's my only point.
Yeah, I'm not
And-
sure that's good though.
So it might not be good, but David, I want to point out one more thing that you said. You were asking for more elucidation of the fact that some buildings are worth different than others. Some buildings like the Richardson House, we will go to bat for. Like, we will do anything to save them. And even when we're saving them, we're not sure we're saving them. I don't know. That's a different discussion.
Yes.
You really
Remove that shrubbery.
off with their heads. Literally, I made him chop the heads of the shrubberies off. Because, I'm not kidding. If you go over there, it's like tree, 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 tree.
That's our
So,
job.
that's our job now. David, what I'm trying to say to you is that I have a statement here I've highlighted on the screen, that the commission may exercise its discretion in the lift of the demolition delay process. Inclusion of a mitigation strategy in either of the above lists does not imply that the strategy will be applicable to any given case. The commission must consider its duties as a steward of the town's cultural historic assets and its responsibility to work in support of the interests of the town of Brookline.
Here, here.
Mm.
Now that's
Yeah, but that's like
That's-
excusing the horrible vote we took, you know, an hour
Well,
before.
you
I mean,
can't. Yeah, I mean, it
we
just
never
says.
take a horrible vote. Our votes are all.
It's horrible to vote. It's horrible to vote.
Yeah, we're in this position where we have very limited power. We're doing the best we can with that limited leverage, and we may make mistakes, but you know, we have to vote in this awful situation often, sometimes.
Yeah, this gives you an inflection point to say, like, we don't accept your offer of a lift. Like, we don't want to accept this, and the reason is because you have not provided adequate proof to us that this building can't be reused. It gives you a way to say that without, because it can come across as discriminatory, our lift process, because people have no insight into the reasons, they don't understand them. And it's like, well, this other case got this special deal. Why can't I have this special deal? I still want it. Why can't I have it?
Yeah, because you're not in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
Something like, yeah, I mean, and that's all in the package of the interests of the town of Brookline. It's like, sometimes we have to make weird decisions. We don't like them. Live with it.
hmm.
Hmm. Best not to look too closely at what we actually do, is what I've learned from being here for almost 7 years.
Sure.
So where does that leave us, Tina?
Can you guys hear me now?
It's not awesome, Elizabeth.
Okay.
Hmm. Are you talking, Elizabeth? You were unmuted on video. Can you stay muted on video and unmute your telephone? I can unmute you probably. I can ask you to unmute. Does that do anything?
She's gonna have to, she's starting to get feedback. She also may need to turn her volume down on her computer.
Yeah, I can't do anything besides ask you to unmute. It
Yeah.
won't let me.
So you've got two different, Elizabeth, if you look, you are in two different, you should be in two different places, right? The phone number, and you're not muted there. I mean, you're muted there, but then you've got the other one where your photo is. And if you go over your photo and there's the three dots, no, on your audio one. Anyway, you just make sure your volume on your computer, so you have to hear and talk through your phone if it's gonna work. If you have the hearing through one and not, and through both, then it won't work.
Thank you.
It's complicated.
Well, we just heard something. Not sure if we're hearing Elizabeth. Let me pull up the participants tab.
In
It-
She's
two,
still muted. Yeah. Can you send her another unmute on your phone, maybe?
in two places at once. Like a quantum particle.
Yeah, I keep sending you unmute invitations, but I don't know what it does on the user's end.
Hold on, I'm gonna sign in on my phone, and see if I can help her walk through it. You guys keep talking, but I have to mute so that I don't give screen feed to you, okay?
Okay.
I have to go really soon. Do you need me anymore? You know what I think.
Have you any other wrenches to throw?
Well, maybe we should back out of this section since we spent the entire time talking about it. It sounds like people need some time to think about it.
Mhm.
I think we've
Um,
gotten to a pretty good place myself.
yeah, I'm gonna keep the edits that we did live here because I think they're good. So we'll leave that as the new version. Are there any other flags?
You mean other sections?
Yeah, other sections.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Billy.
This is not
it's-
our only issue. We have so many.
Oh, I know. It's terrible.
Most of them
Um,
relate honestly to the demolition bylaw because the demolition bylaw it's a fraught document and it does need to be worked on. Not today.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. I'll get an update from you
Okay.
all. But thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you guys hear me on my phone?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. Elizabeth, has Elizabeth figured it out yet?
Elizabeth is now only here on her phone and she remains muted. So it's difficult to
Okay.
know.
Elizabeth, if you can hear me, you've got it, and you might want to send her a chat, Tina. She needs to do *6 to unmute. On her, so she'll need to put her push buttons up. Can you see that? I'm putting it in front of my, you might pin my picture just for a second so she can see.
Okay, hold on.
I
Done.
gotta, okay, so if she can see that, then it would be *6. And then you be unmuted on your phone. That's what I am right now. I'm unmuted on my phone by using *6, but you need to put your keypad up to do it. Maybe send her a chat also.
I did send the chat. I sent it to everyone because I actually couldn't find her
Oh yeah,
on
I
the
see it now there.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if she gets the chats on her phone. I have no idea how that interface works.
Yeah, she wouldn't. I don't see it on, hang on, hide keypad. Yeah, I can't, she won't see it on there.
Okay.
Maybe we text her.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's *6 from now on. We should make a note. If anybody needs it, it's *6. So
She
I'm gonna
says
hang
she
up
did
now.
it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine,
Okay.
Arisa. Elizabeth said she did it. Her phone is not muted. She did the *6 and she's still muted on our end. Elizabeth, come back with your video. We can sometimes understand you.
Come back.
Come back, come back.
Oh,
All right. Should we take like a couple minute break? Do people want to keep going or do you want to just do this another time?
I think there's so much. I mean, I don't know. Depends if we were to go through this whole thing in some detail. I mean, I think it will take another session at least. I'm looking through this to see. I thought most of the changes were fine myself, and then it struck me in a few places there's this it spells out the rules and regs spell out that the commission does this and the commission does that, whereas we know in practice the preservation planners do this and that.
Can you point out a specific instance?
I think so. Well, for example, section 4, notice and agendas. Yeah, at least 14. I mean, it sounds so simple. I mean, I'm fine with the way we do it. But section 4, notice and agendas pursuant to MGL 40C, at least 14 days before a hearing, blah, blah, blah. The commission shall give public notice of the time, place, and purpose.
But
Oh.
I mean, it's being said as if the planners are part, I mean, together we function as a commission.
Is that ever defined like that? Because
I know it's used, but it's being used that way multiple
it
times.
is.
Notice
It
the same
is.
thing. Maybe it's a matter of capitalization.
Yeah, so the
Maybe, yeah.
the planner duties are actually in the secretary definition. So I
Because
have
they're
it up
secretary,
now.
right?
We
That,
one of us always gets voted to be the secretary.
yeah, and that makes you part of the commission.
Well, I guess technically I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
Does
That's-
it? Okay. Well,
yeah.
if that's the case, then those few objections go away, right?
Good point.
Great.
Elizabeth, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, they're taking down a tree outside my apartment. So that's why I have been muting. The phone thing didn't work. The chat is disabled. If the chat was on, I could put things in the chat.
You should be able to chat.
It's disabled.
Can you?
The chat is disabled from everybody. You can chat to us, Tina. You've made it so that you are the only one.
Okay.
Now, okay, wait, no, now
No,
everyone.
I see
Yeah.
the chat.
So we
from-
were getting yours. Now it's set so everybody can.
Okay.
I can't.
Still can't.
I
You
still
click
can't.
click on chat, Elizabeth. And then when it comes up, see if there's a little blue square that says everyone.
Wait a minute, Arisa. So I think I can type to Rebecca, but not everyone.
You
Yeah,
should
I don't know,
have
right?
a button that
There's
allows.
there's a new, yeah, there is, but she may not have an old version of Zoom that doesn't do it.
Oh.
I
So
mean,
that would be the other say, I would say at some point, Elizabeth, make sure you've got the newest Zoom updated. But there are two different chat lines now where you can chat directly to the two hosts or to everyone in the meeting chat.
okay, let's just go on. Sorry for the interruptions.
I
Is-
think we were discussing the secretary and we're all on board that we're part of the commission now. Staff, are we good? We don't mind. Great. Go on.
I had a question about, I think it's section 3, subsection D was removed entirely, but it made me think, do we need to spell out the subcommittee's power to return a case to the full commission? I mean,
Oh
Is
yeah,
that-
I remember taking that out because I thought it was silly, but let me see
Yeah.
why.
I'm not objecting to taking that out. I'm just saying that taking that out made me wonder if we should spell out our practice, which is that the subcommittee is often empowered to determine when a case returns.
Yeah, I took this out because it was regarding all of these, like, we didn't have time to review the documents and less than 7 days and all this weird information that I would never ask for. I don't know why this is in there. That we don't have reasonable time to schedule and post a meeting. I can't imagine a circumstance in which I could not post a subcommittee meeting, which is a 48-hour notice, but I could put it on a hearing, which is a 2-week in advance notice. do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make any sense. I'm fine with making it something else, like subcommittees are empowered at any time to refer the issues designated to them back to the full commission should they decide,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah, that's all I'm saying, yeah. It seemed to me that it might be good to spell that out because it is so much a part of what we do. Um, I think I would add, okay, no, this is section 6. Subsection D, it states, after approval at a public hearing and further development of the plans, if required, the approved building plan shall be stamped as approved. I think I would add something like as approved after plans as approved by the subcommittee.
hold on, help me find where you are.
Section 6,
Okay.
subsection D.
Okay.
After approval at a public hearing and further development of the plans, I think I would say as approved by the subcommittee. The approved plans shall be stamped as
No, I think this applies
approved.
to anything. This is final drawings and design development. It could have been a subcommittee. It could have been the commission. It's any,
Right.
we can add like
Well, maybe
an
we should just add
elaboration.
and further development of plans approved by full commission
Or a subcommittee,
or subcommittee. Yeah.
empowered subcommittee.
Yeah.
Yes, so to let you know why I've made these other changes, right now, we have to, well, first of all, we don't stamp physical plans anymore. That's not a thing. When we do stamp them, we stamp them electronically. And Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat makes you do backflips in order to get these darn stamps onto the page. That means I have to go through every single page of the document, stamp every single page with my stamp. Then I have to go back with my text field into every single one of these tiny little stamps and insert the correct date. And I think it's just the correct date. It has my signature, my stamp does, but I need to put the date. Every single one. I mean,
Can't you do that in the stamp before you apply them to each page?
You
Wow.
may not. No.
God.
You may not. And it's a profound waste of time.
If you do it once and then you group the text and the stamp together to make it a group, then you can just copy and paste it.
There's a trick, but still it's stupid. Polly only stamps the first page of her plans. She doesn't bother to stamp all of the sheets. She never does. And I don't think we should have to either. It's kind of crazy.
Oh. There were a couple places, and I'm trying to figure out if I can remember exactly where they were, where it seemed to me we were directing the building department, which mean, I'm not a lawyer, but is that appropriate to this rules and regs? But
We administer and we don't enforce our bylaw, but we administer our bylaw. So the building department is tasked with enforcing our bylaw. So in my mind, if we need them to do something in the pursuit of enforcing our bylaw, then yes, it's appropriate. I don't know if there's other instances. I mean, I love telling Dan what to do. It's really fun, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our bylaw directs him what to do. You may issue this demolition permit. You may not issue this other demolition permit.
Aha. So if I went back to the bylaw again, that
Yeah.
would be, okay, gotcha. Oh, okay. So it struck me that, and maybe there's no discussion now for this, but in section 2, under F, demolition review, section 2, point 2, under that, there are all this A, B, A1, A2, B1, B2. All these things would be subsumed under guidelines for NR properties, right? I mean, I think somewhere this refers to guidelines for NR properties, but we haven't
Yeah, I
done
think
them yet.
did we do that at the end? I'm not sure where we put
I'm not
it.
sure either. So this is almost like well, it's like a placeholder for that, but it may be all we need.
I don't think that our current design review processes, they don't meet the bar of quantifiable. This outlines what we can regulate and what sort of things we want to regulate, but it does not explain how we regulate them. And that was the purpose of the National Register District guidelines, to give this, our bylaw and our regs say thou shalt not, and they give you the list of items that you may
Yeah.
not, like, you are triggering demolition if you change X, Y, and Z. But
Yeah.
what we don't say is how you can deal with X, Y, and Z in a way that we will accept. And that is what the guidelines for National Register districts are intended to address. Because, like I said before, the public has no idea what a lift of stay is, and they don't know what we want. So the more that we say what we want, hopefully the more we can get what we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again,
This is
it's not contemplated in this rules and regs right now.
this is a tiny point, but under that, number 3, character defining features on NR properties, I think it would just be better to say removing the exterior cladding rather than stripping the exterior cladding. And I eliminate
That's
the word
fair.
off. Yeah. Stripping off seems vernacular.
Yes. And
And
stripping is technically removing paint as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, stripping.
in,
Oh.
can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
In that section, the subpoint 1 should be in the body of the paragraph above it.
Oh boy, where this one?
Okay, so the subpoint 1 that says covering over and removal of a substantial portion of the following, that is a predicate for everything that comes after. It shouldn't be subpoint 1. It should be in the paragraph above that. Windows and doors should be subpoint 1.
Okay. I think it's just really hard to see on my version that I'm using right now on the screen because it's so like crossed out. So you're just saying that,
I think you've already edited it, but what I printed out, which is what you sent out, it hadn't been edited yet, so never mind.
okay, I'm just gonna make a note to look at
I
that.
see. Mhm. I thought in this section, I think the same one Elizabeth's referring to, I thought I would, after windows and doors, I would probably add there side lights and transoms, windows and doors, comma, side lights and transoms. And then remove side lights and transoms from point 2.
Yes.
I mean, just grouping glass stuff together. versus the trim stuff. I wasn't sure what is a drip cap? I mean, I should know if that's real, but
That's
including-
flashing, isn't it?
It's
A drip cap.
oh,
Yeah.
flashing, sure, but that's what you mean. Drip. Well,
Trim,
Yeah.
cornices, and flashing, essentially.
sure. I mean, I never think of flashing as part of the historical. I mean, you always have to have it, but I never think of it as part of any historical element because you've always got to have it.
Well, if it was copper and then you install something else, better believe
Ah.
I'll get a call.
Absolutely,
From
you're
Dennis
talking
to
about the
Witt.
material differences. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That like sometimes flashing is just nothing, but sometimes flashing on a historic building is actually part of what makes it beautiful.
Well, then I would add after that. I would add after drip caps, sills, and leave stools alone because stools. If I got it right, stools. I refer to stools as the interior sill, the exterior sill being the sill.
I thought that referred to like the little things under them, like sometimes they have brackets. Is that right or no? What are stools?
Stools on the interior of a house. The stool is the sill, typically wood. Going from the window to just past the plane of the wall.
That sounds like something we really
No.
don't have a lot of.
Well, I thought that's
view
only
of.
yeah, well, I thought that's in there only because the whole section includes interiors where it's an NR, a publicly accessible NR interior.
But I think
Otherwise,
that is just, isn't that defined later or somewhere else?
well, if it is, then we
Uh-huh.
should just take out stools. Because it
Yeah.
is odd that we have all this exterior trim being referred to, and then stools is in there. I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless I've been using it wrong the last 50 years, a stool is
I don't know.
sometimes.
Maybe we can just leave it, assuming that that means for those interior spaces that we can regulate.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I always call them stool caps, but maybe that's wrong too. Stools. Oh, they want to sell me a bunch of stools. Stools definition.
Elton, I'm looking at it right now, and stool is used primarily as in an interior.
Yeah, that's how I've always used it. Whereas I use sill for the exterior. Don't you?
I'm just thinking about older windows, like 18th century windows, where the frame is prominently expressed, and I don't know if there's different terminology for pre-manufactured windows, industrially manufactured windows.
Well, I don't know. In my experience, the stools, that's that piece on the interior that makes a sill on the interior of the house, and then an apron is the little piece, trim piece below the stool that finishes the connection with the wall. But anyway, I haven't even found my way to the right dictionary yet, so.
I mean,
Forget
Dennis
about it.
wrote this. Maybe we can just give him this one. Like, he must have known what he was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
let's just move on. Because is it crucial? No.
No.
We've got so much work to do. We need to focus.
I was wondering whether instead of spelling out all these things, just prohibit changes to all elements of a building's exterior. Because once you've gone through all these elements, I don't think we've left anything.
In fact, we added a final statement that isn't actually in this version, but it says, yeah, all these things and any other feature that we might have left off this list.
Well,
There you go,
well,
bingo.
Well, then,
It is, well,
it is like
first-
saying that all the exterior elements of an NR building are
yeah.
character defining features.
They are. And so this list was already in the bylaw. We
Ah.
left it as much intact as we could. We made some changes just to make it clearer. And we added that one because we felt like, well, if we want to protect something and it's not on the list, that's not really fair. It should have this disclaimer. I think the list is valid just to tell people like
Yes.
give people parameters. Because when you tell people not to change the exterior of the building, many of them do not understand that windows are located on the exterior of the building, as is their trim.
That's true.
Mind blowing newsflash, people. Windows, exterior of the building. Yes, this is where they
Yeah.
are located.
This
I agree.
will cause great consternation in my neighborhood, except they've already replaced all the windows, so.
Yeah.
Demolition by neglect. Should we add preservation planners or commission have reason to believe that something?
Yes. Yes, because if commissioners want to bring something at a meeting, you should be entitled to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty well done. I did have a question. I think we've already talked about this. The elimination of section 5 is because there was a presumption of guilt, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And also because it doesn't actually add anything besides the presumption of guilt to our process. Anytime a building is demolished and you didn't have permission, that's a violation of the bylaw. And I think the building department does understand that. They come to us when that happens. This has happened recently when a building fell down by accident. Not the one that was demolished without a permit on purpose. It's the one that fell down by accident, not on purpose. And yeah, this moving through that process, this section I can say did not help me at all. In fact, it made people really anxious. And given the heightened scrutiny that insurance companies are given to things like this, like what is required in case of disaster, I think it really benefits us to not even say anything.
I had a question way back in section 3, resignation. We say, point B, chairperson may request the resignation or non-reappointment. But what's the good of that? I mean, shouldn't it say may require? Or why say it at all? Because of course the chair can request anything they want, right?
The
Am I
chair
missing?
can't require anyone to be on the commission or off the commission. We
Or
don't have
not?
appointing power over our commission. The select board does.
Well,
So that's a technicality like of the process.
so okay, is there a purpose then to including this? Does this mean the chair is petitioning the select board?
Yes.
Oh, maybe we
Yeah.
should say that then.
It's I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, where are you?
Where are you?
Section
Section
3,
3 is not enough
resignation.
information. Okay, here we go.
Three within what section?
It's at the beginning.
The second, yeah,
B.
A general. A general.
Is it A or B?
It's B.
It's A.
I've renumbered
you're right. Oh, you're right.
absolutely
It's B.
everything.
Sorry, it's
You
B.
know-
I printed.
Elton, I think this should be in there because if the chair was put in the awkward position
Yeah,
of asking a commission member to resign, you would want to have that support in the regulation that basically gave you that responsibility. You wouldn't want to just do it out of, without any support for that.
yeah. No, I'm for it. I'm just saying if what this means is really the chair is petitioning the select board for the resignation, non-reappointment, then, and that sounds like that's the real process, and that's what it should probably say. I mean, in other words, it doesn't have any teeth unless it's through the select board, right?
Well, any commissioner may resign. right? So commissioners can submit their own resignation letters. I think that's the first part of what this is. The
Yeah.
chair can go to the person and say, look, like, can you just resign because you're not coming to meetings and we really need an active commissioner, et cetera. Non-reappointment is the select board. And that would be a letter to the select board, not the person.
But I think that logically follows everything else in here where the select board asks for the chair's recommendation. You know, I mean, personally, I think the language is fine as it is.
And it defines the resignation process with the select board in the bullet right above it.
Okay, great.
So, I mean, I just want to revisit quickly. I heard no objection to removing the acts of God section. That was correct, right? No one had thoughts
Right.
on that weren't expressed. Okay.
I think
Great.
we talked about that at a meeting before.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I probably brought it up for some other reason because we've been dealing with it a lot.
It just, we've talked about this before, but it just reads to me as if there are acts of arson all the time. And we need this special provision to, you know, call it out and, you know, but also it not only punishes the person who owns the building, but it punishes all the abutters if they can't rebuild for 2 years, so. I have one. So under Roman numeral 6, which is on my page 10 of the printout, demolition review under Article 5.3 of the town's bylaws. And this is in the larger section. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. Oh, no. Okay. So let me just, if you can hear me. What
Yes,
is,
you're
okay. An application for a building permit with demolition in a historic district is reviewed under Article 5.3 in the same manner as any other application for a building permit in a historic district, providing that nothing herein shall preclude the application of those provisions of Article 5.3, which may exceed the scope of Article 5.6, et cetera. Okay, so I think I know what this means, but whenever I read it through, I'm like, ah. So Tina, can you talk about it?
Yeah, so what this is saying is that the local historic district bylaw supersedes the demolition bylaw for properties that are in local historic districts, except that it can be used, the demolition bylaw can be used if the scope of its authority exceeds what is allowed under 5.6. Now, the only thing that I'm not sure about here is whether it kind of sounds to me like this is implying that local historic district, that kind of, if you submit a demolition application, it kind of becomes a local historic district application, and we process it as a local historic district application, or you have to reapply for local historic district. But then we can like insert things from the demolition bylaw into the LHD process, which kind of feels not right. It seems like what has actually happened in the past, I can tell you because we've done this back and forth before. I don't know if you remember the case at 53 Powell with the garage at the rear.
Yep.
Where I said it wasn't visible. I said the garage is not visible. We're going to review it under the demolition bylaw. So we made the applicant apply for demolition of the garage under the demo bylaw. Then a concerned neighbor submitted a telephoto lens photograph proving that 4 tiles of said roof were actually visible, and making it reviewable under the LHD bylaw. So Val was actually handling the case, and so she determined that at that time, that meant we couldn't review it under the demo bylaw and that we had to go back to the LHD bylaw, which actually only allowed us to review those 4 roof tiles because the rest of the garage was not visible. So I'm not sure that it is clear, like, to staff, this section, and I hadn't caught it when I did the regs revision. I didn't think of this, but I think what should have happened in that case is that we should have said, yes, concerned neighbor, we can see your roof tiles. However, these 4 tiles are small and the scope of review and allowed to us under the demolition bylaw exceeds the scope of the LHD bylaw. So therefore, in this case, we are going to use the demolition bylaw because that scope is allowing us more review. Instead, we canceled the hearing and made them reschedule to go on the next hearing for LHD. It was bonkers crazy for these 4 roof tiles. And they ended up rebuilding the garage in kind in a different location. I don't know, but we just could have gotten there with fewer jumping through hoops.
But 5.3 is the demo bylaw.
Yep.
And 5.6 is the LHD bylaw. So this first sentence is just confusing to me because it seems to me that it should say it's reviewed under Article 5.6 in the same manner as any other application for a building permit in a historic district. It seems like it should be 5.6, not 5.3, but I admit to being confused.
You know what? I think this is for legal. I think this question is for legal because I am myself not clear whether, because it kind of suggests, like you're saying, like that we're actually reviewing it under the demolition bylaw,
Right.
even though it's a local historic district, but we're going to treat it like a historic district, but we're still under the demo bylaw. And then you have like, can they wait out the stay in a local historic district under that? Like, I don't even know what that means. So yeah, I think it's confusing, and I agree. I will run it by legal and request their clarifications.
Okay. Okay, so we just went over the 2-hour mark. Where are we?
Yeah. I
I
feel like,
think,
oh, go ahead, Elton.
well, I think I have to leave, actually. I've got,
Yeah. Yeah, so it feels like this is not ready to go back to a hearing, that we are not in decision mode yet. We are still in thinking about things mode, yes?
yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna need another review meeting, at least one, probably more. My question for you is when you would like this to happen, because my last question to you during this meeting was going to be, when would you like to schedule our other meeting in October that we need to have for the review of CPA cases? So what I'm saying to you is we already have to have another special like morning meeting in the end of October to review the CPA cases and decide what we will give our support to.
And Tina,
Or maybe
remind us what
or-
your day is.
November 4th. Arisa, could you maybe provide more information about when those letters are due? Do we have more flexibility?
I think that's Brooke now. I don't have.
Oh,
the date
you're
in front-
right.
Sorry,
Well,
guys.
you were with them for a while.
I was.
Anyone?
I didn't have the date in my mind though, but so I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm here listening, but I'm also home with two very bored children that don't have school today, so it's a bit of a juggle.
Uh-oh. My impression is that CPA letters are a little flexible, that they could well be submitted in November if that's when we did it, because they're needed for town meeting. I just want to give the commission, I don't want to overwhelm people with too many meetings. I have 2 weeks in the end of October, and I'm just saying, like, how would you like to spend the time? Because
What I would suggest, Tina, is that if we let the CPA committee know that we haven't been able to review, because they will hold up some applications if not. If
yeah,
you send them a letter that says, we are currently trying to schedule, and that ought to help them, then, they can add that piece later. Nancy's not going to get upset about that. They're just trying to get everything collected, but they don't put them out until spring. It's not like they're trying to get to the fall town meeting.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Okay.
I will be out of town, October 28th through 31st.
I leave the 31st. But you're the chair, that matters more.
Okay. Well, how about the week of the 20th through the 24th?
Yeah,
I can't do that Tuesday. But this morning is a morning or daytime meeting anytime, and we can schedule it any other day.
I can do it any day but Friday.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think I can do it any day, except we seem to be interning somebody here. Oh, that's later in the morning.
I have
In
a
the
board
afternoon.
meeting on Thursday, but which means I could come for a little bit, but I would have to leave. But I can do any other day.
What's the
Okay.
date that you're proposing just now?
I think
Second, we're down to, I think.
22nd or the 20th, but Monday meetings are kind of tough. So
It's so 21, 22 is ideal.
22nd is fine with me.
That's fine.
22nd.
22nd is good.
22nd is good.
Okay.
Good.
Oh,
Do you want to do 8:30 again, or is another time better?
this is
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
8:30 for another session of rules and regs. Okay.
Gotta love it.
I think,
But Tina, can
yes.
I suggest that I think, ideally, I think we would have one more meeting and then it should be ready or almost ready to go to the commission for a vote. I mean, if,
Yeah.
we've hashed things out today. If people, have suggested edits, they need to send those in. If you care, if
Yes.
you feel strongly enough about something, that should mean you are willing to take a crack at editing it.
I
Is
agree.
my position, as a former writer and editor of public facing documents.
Yes.
Don't just tell me what you don't like. Show me how you think we could make it better. So I'm just urging us to kind of not let this trail along, like get it done. The more we can get done before Tina leaves, the happier we're all going to be.
So I can also notice it with a possible vote. Like this one I didn't, because I wanted to be very clear this is a working session, but I can notice it so that we can vote on some things if we're ready, for everything, if people really get motivated. But I agree, I'm going to send out an email and be very clear, like if people want to change things, submit red lines in advance. You've had the red line, you've had it for a while. Get in there.
So you made some corrections today. So are you going to send
I'll
us a
send it.
new,
Yeah.
uh,
I'll
correct-
send you a new clean draft of it.
And we can vote on this. Do we need a 4-person vote for this if we vote on that day, the 22nd?
Yes, yes. Yes, you have to have a quorum, but you can't use alternates to get there.
So we have 8 members, right?
Yes.
So
You have
is,
7 real members, 1 alternate.
okay, so then 4, gotcha.
Yeah.
Good. Super.
Okay.
Well, thanks. This has been, the rules and regs has been a long, hard project. And I want to just say that I appreciate all the work that staff, that all staff have done, especially Tina. And I would love to see us get this as close as we can to the finish line before Tina goes.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Good.
Well said, Elizabeth.
And then Tina, you can put LHD guidelines and rules and regs on your resume as major.
There
Oh,
you go.
I did want to ask or give you the option because several people asked, do you want this meeting to be, wait, what day is it? Wednesday in person? Do you want it in person?
Oh, no,
No. Okay,
it's physically really hard for me.
that's fine.
I mean, you guys can go, but if I can, I would want to be able to be on my computer.
We can arrange it if people feel strongly, but I prefer to keep everyone on the same medium.
fine with me.
More fair. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, well, great. Thank you.
All right.
Have a
See you
great day.
guys.
Bye.
Thank
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.